Today we're talking about being redeemed. I'm hoping everyone in here is redeemed, and if you're not, I'm hoping that by the end of the service you want to be redeemed. Let's start with Adam and Eve, our famous couple from the very beginning of the Bible. We know that God created them for relationship with Him, and He put them in a beautiful garden to tend the garden, to cultivate it, and He gave one rule. Don't eat from this one tree. They had 100 trees, 1,000 trees. I don't know how many trees were in the garden, but they had plenty to choose from. But you know how it is. When you tell somebody don't do it, well, I don't know for sure all that transpired except for what the text tells us, but God told them, in the day you eat of that tree, you will die. Now here's the thing. They did eat of the tree, as we all know. They sinned, they rebelled against God's command, they doubted what God had to say, and God had to throw them out of the garden. But He said, in the day you eat of it, you will surely die. Now, they did die spiritually. We know, and we know that all of us are spiritually dead because of what that happened, because of what happened. But God threw them out of the garden after He clothed them, and He sent them on their way for their own protection. Had they stayed in the garden in their sinful state and eaten from that tree, the tree of life, they would have lived forever in their sinful state, and there would have been no redemption. So He sent them out of the garden for their own good. But they didn't die because mercy. God showed them mercy, even though He told them on the day you eat of it, you will die. But they didn't actually die on that day. Did death come into the world? Yeah. Did they eventually die? Yeah. They probably wouldn't have had they not sinned. But God still was full of mercy to cover them in their sin and send them out. And now we have a way of redemption. Now, let's talk about Cain. Not long, we don't know how long, again, but obviously they were a little bit grown up. Cain and Abel, and Abel had a better offering than Cain, and Cain was upset and jealous over his brother, and Cain killed his brother. If there was no one else alive on the earth at that time, which there might have been, because Adam and Eve had other sons and daughters, but at that time, if Cain had killed Abel and they were the only ones, that means that Cain killed a quarter of the population. That's a lot, right? So Cain kills his brother Abel, murder. He commits murder. And what does God do? He sends him away. He doesn't kill him. He sends him away. And Cain says, come on, you can go. Cain says, but I will be hidden from your presence, and whoever finds me will kill me. He's worried. He doesn't want to be apart from God, even though now he's going to be, because God has sent him away from his presence. But he begs God, I don't want to be hidden from your presence, and I don't want to be out where, I'm in the middle of nowhere and somebody's going to kill me. And God, in His mercy, puts a mark on Cain. We have no idea what the mark was. Somehow or other, people knew when they saw Cain that they better not kill this guy. That's what we know. But it was because of mercy. Even though Cain murdered somebody, then when Cain was all worried, God showed him mercy. Isn't that amazing? There's one more story, and I want you to be thinking as we go through this, as I'm getting to the big story that I'm coming to. We are always breaking God's rules. Every time we roll our eyes at somebody, every time we think to ourselves, those are little, we don't think of them a whole lot as sin, but they kind of are. Every time we do those little things, and we all do them, just because we're still human and we are fallen by nature. So as we are sanctified, we're supposed to lose that nature and be restored, but it's a grace, it's a growth in grace, right? So We are constantly breaking God's rules, and hopefully we're getting better, but we're constantly breaking his rules, and God is constantly showing us mercy. Isn't that amazing? We break his rules, and he shows mercy. And we break them again, and he shows more mercy. He's just, that's not what we would do. Right? We'd be like, nah. But no, mercy. So this story is often overlooked in the Bible, but to me, it is like the epitome of mercy. The sons of Korah, all right, they wrote a psalm, Psalm 44. They actually wrote more than one psalm, but today we're talking about Psalm 44. And in Psalm 44, the sons of Korah say, "We have heard with our ears, O God. Our fathers have told us the work you did in their days, in the days of old. With your hand you drove out the nations and planted our fathers there. You crushed the peoples and cast them out. For it was not by their sword that they took the land. Their arm did not bring them victory. It was by your right hand, your arm, and the light of your face, because you favored them." The sons of Korah understood that it was all God. It was always God, and it was all God. Now, why did they understand God's mercy more than everybody else? Well, they have an interesting path. At the end of I'm going to read just the end of the psalm, because here you also see more of what the sons of Korah understood about God. They know his mercy by experience. And here's what they say, the end of the psalm. "We are brought down to the dust. Our bodies cling to the ground. Rise up and help us. Rescue us because of your unfailing love." They understand that without God, they are doomed. So the question is, what is so special about the sons of Korah? Some of you already know. You're like, yeah, I know that story. But some of you might be like, I don't know. What is special about the sons of Korah? So let's talk about it. And the truth is, many Old Testament people call on God the same way the sons of Korah do. But the sons of Korah have such a unique situation that's why it's worth talking about. So we're going to go all the way back to Moses. Whether the sons of Korah are the exact sons of Korah or maybe the descendants of Korah, we're not sure when they wrote the psalm. But anyway, it does go back to Moses. In Numbers, Pat's favorite book, right? She's looking at me. In Numbers chapter 16, verses 1 through 7, we read, "Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and certain Reubenites, Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth," so three different groups, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. "They became insolent and rose up against Moses. With them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders who had been appointed members of the council. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron, and they said to them, 'You've gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Then why do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly?'" Boy, have we ever heard this before. Then when Moses heard this, he fell face down because he was humble. Then he said to Korah and all his followers, "In the morning the Lord will show who belongs to him and who is holy, and he will have that person come near him. The man he chooses, he will cause to come near him. You, Korah, and all your followers are to do this. Take censers, and tomorrow put burning coals and incense in them before the Lord. And the man the Lord chooses will be the one who is holy. You Levites have gone too far." So Korah, if you know this, Korah was from the same tribe as Moses and Aaron. He was from the tribe of Levi and from the son of Kohath, from Kohath. So Moses and Aaron were from the Kohath, the son of Levi, and so was Korah. But God had uniquely bestowed the priesthood on Aaron. Not even Moses, just Aaron. Aaron's descendants were the priest. But Korah, he's like, well, I'm from Kohath too. I'm a Levite too. I ought to be able to have what you have. So that's what he's thinking. He's thinking, I'm from the same tribe. I'm from the same family. So I ought to have that as well. So in verse 10, Moses says, he's brought you all and your fellow Levites near himself, but now you're trying to get the priesthood too. See, not even Moses didn't even have the priesthood. Aaron did. But here's Korah coming along, and not only just Korah, but Dathan and Abiram too, from the tribe of Reuben. They don't even get to be Levites. So this is what's going on. They're jealous, and they're aiming to get the priesthood. In verses 12 through 13, we read, then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they said, we will not come. Isn't it enough that you have brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey? Amazing, they called Egypt the land flowing with milk and honey. To kill us in the wilderness, and now you also want to lord it over us? So then the next day, Korah and his followers show up with their censers. Didn't he say, fill your censers? You know, those things they swing around. Filled their censers with the coals, and they came before the Lord. Dathan and Abiram did not come. They stayed with their tents, with their families. But Korah and his followers came. And then in verses 23 through 25, we read this. Then the Lord said to Moses, say to the assembly, move away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram and said, the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the assembly, move back from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything belonging to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins. So they moved away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Dathan and Abiram had come out and were standing with their wives, their children, and all their little ones at the entrances to their tents. Then Moses said, this is how you know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have treated the Lord with contempt. As soon as he finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. They went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around them fled. I would have too, shouting, the earth is going to swallow us too. And fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering incense. So they all perished. Korah, Dathan, Abiram, all their families, they all perished. It seems harsh until you remember that God was right there with them in that camp. The pillar of smoke, the pillar of fire, the manna every single day. These people knew that God existed. They knew who God was. They knew God's rules. And they still chose, with the pillar of smoke and fire right there, to bring a rebellion against Moses and Aaron. To me, that is like the epitome of just rebellion. And so God, because God's in the camp with them, and God will be treated as holy. And so the ground opens up and swallows them all. But wait a sec. How can we have sons of Korah? How can we have sons of Korah if the sons of Korah were swallowed alive with all those people? Because didn't it say their families and everything? Well, you have to read your scripture carefully, because if you blink, you will miss it. There is another section in Numbers 26, 9 through 11 that tells us, same book, but a little farther along. The sons of Eliab, Nemuel, Dathan, and Abiram. These are the Dathan and Abiram who were called by the congregation, who fought against Moses and against Aaron in the group of Korah when they fought against the Lord, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up along with Korah. When that group died, when the fire devoured 250 men, so that they became a warning sign. The sons of Korah, however, did not die. You see, when Dathan and Abiram were standing at their tents, their wives and all their children were with them. And Moses said, "Get away from the tents, everybody get away." Well, Dathan and Abiram's families could have left the tent, moved away, and they would have been fine. And only the people at the tent would have been swallowed. But they didn't, they stood there. But the sons of Korah were nowhere to be found. It doesn't say that Korah and his sons were the ones bringing the rebellion. It says Korah and his followers. The sons of Korah got away from their father, and therefore they did not die, because they did not take part in that rebellion. That is a warning sign to all of us. But to me, that is mercy. Mercy. They could have simply died with their father, just because, it's Korah, well, let's just get rid of the whole family. But God didn't do that. Do you think that they felt like they were saved by the skin of their teeth? I mean, that's how I feel. Let me stop there. God doesn't punish his children for the sins of the father, we are told. If the sons of Korah were standing next to Korah, I bet they would have died. But they weren't. They separated themselves because God was in the camp, and they understood the holiness of God better than their father Korah did. And when Korah died, they received mercy, and they did not die with him. And therefore, we have Psalms written by the sons of Korah who understood God's mercy better than anyone as they watched their father get swallowed up in a hole. Terrifying to me. But to me, it does seem like, let me get past that. I'm looking for a particular one here. Saved by the skin of your teeth. Have you ever had something happen to you and you literally were saved by the skin of your teeth? And you are like, oh, the relief and the chill, right? The relief you feel when you realize, like a car almost hits you, or you accidentally pull out in front of somebody, and the relief you feel when you realize you've been saved, and then that chill that you get when you realize what could have happened. Do we understand that all of us were destined for hell until God came along? And the relief that we felt when we got saved, and the chill of the thought of what might have happened. That's what the sons of Korah felt. That's what we ought to feel every time we think of God's grace and his mercy, because none of us deserve his mercy. We don't. But he gives it anyway. That's the thing about God. He just keeps giving it and giving it. We don't deserve it, and he doesn't have to give it, but he does. And we feel the relief of the salvation and then the chill of what might have happened had he not been as merciful as he is. I just get a chill when I think about that. We tend to, all of us, especially if we've been Christians for a lot of years, we tend to forget just how close we came. Now, if you got saved when you were like 2, then you might not feel that as much. I got saved as an adult. Well, I got saved once when I was 9 in a Billy Graham, and they didn't understand what I had done. So until I was 22 and got saved again, or understood it for the first time, but I was an adult. And I look back and I think, what if I'd have died in those years? Saved by the skin of my teeth. The chill, right? What about our families? What about our brothers and sisters, our children, our grandchildren, maybe aunts and uncles, our parents who aren't saved? They don't have that same feel of relief yet because they haven't felt God's mercy. Some of them don't think they need God's mercy, and that's the problem. But it's up to us to keep praying for them because we don't know for sure. We don't know if they're going to accept Jesus or not, but we have to keep praying for them because we do not want them to be swallowed up in hell. We don't want that for them. I don't want it for my kids or my grandkids or hopefully great-grandkids when they come. I don't want it for my brothers and sisters, none of which are saved. My parents are gone now, but I have aunts and uncles that are not saved. I am praying for them because I want them to suddenly realize how close they are to death and that every moment could be their last moment. And they must understand God's mercy so that they too can feel that sense of relief and that chill of what might have been, so that then they will begin praying for others. That is the thing. And we need to make sure they understand no sin is too big and no family history. I look at the family history of Korah, the sons of Korah who wrote many of our Psalms. Look at their family history. Korah rebelled right there in front of the pillar of smoke and fire and went down into the grave alive, it says. No family history is too painful that God can't forgive it. None. So if you have people that tell you, I can't be saved, I've done too many things. You just give me a sec. Let me talk to you because no, there is nobody that's too far gone. Nobody. God, that's the thing. God does it all. We can't even do a micron. We don't even contribute a micron to our own salvation. It's God doing it. Are we the ones who accept it? Yes. But I've been thinking about that because that's not really a work. There comes a time when suddenly your mind simply understands. Your eyes are opened and your mind understands what's being offered to you. And when you truly believe it, you just automatically, like, yes, Lord, I understand, and yes, I want that. God does it all. We are just recipients of his mercy and his grace, and I am so grateful that we are recipients of his mercy every single day. Great humility comes when we remember that we are recipients of his grace. We get to be in Christians for 40, 50, 60 years, maybe longer for some of us. And we forget where we came from. We forget where we were headed. But every now and then it's good that we remember, oh man, the things he saved me from, the things he got me out of, the messes he got me out of. This is the stuff that drives me crazy, but I think of his saving me out of that stuff over and over and over again when I'm doing the stupid things, right? None of us deserve his grace. But if we could every now and then have a glimpse of how close we came to going down into the pit alive with Korah and the others who rebelled against God. We were this close until he reached down his hand and took us, right? Some of us maybe by our hair, some of us by our shirt. I don't know how he took us, but he took us and he lifted us out of that. And thank God he did. And we need to every now and then be reminded, because you see the humility in the psalm from the sons of Korah, who probably had nightmares about what they saw. And every morning they woke up remembering God's mercy. It's just awesome. So maybe it's not you, but your children. Let's keep that in mind, the chill of where they could be going if we don't continue to pray for them and find ways to make the truth of God's mercy and grace known to them. And so don't stop praying, because we don't know God's timing, right? We talk about that a lot. We have no idea how God figures out the timing, and our timing is What we think is not what God thinks. So we don't know God's timing, but we do know God's character. I love that. All right, so I have a song. I will read this verse though. Romans 8:31b. If God is for us, who is against us? Who cares who's against us? God is on our side, right? So who cares who's against us? It doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going. As long as we're still breathing, we have God's mercy, and we're just going to keep going. I have a song here, and I'm going to let Paul hit the button. This is a happy, fast song, so let's stand up and sing together.